So there are some people who, love magic as a hobby and love the history of magic. Other people who don't care that much about the history, or they just are practitioners. They like to do it. They just want to learn a trick and do it, and they don't care about where it came from. And then there's other people who do it for a living, and that's the whole. But then there's some people who do all that. They are historians, they are creators, they're performers, and they have a holistic view of the magic. But then they also are scholars. They're academics. They take a deep dive into where things come from and why they fit together. And this is why I'm saying this, because Steve Reynolds is one of those guys that I love to talk shop with, because he knows of where he speaks when he speaks about things he knows about. So let me bring in Steve, direct from New Orleans. There you are. Hey, Steve.
Hey,
How you
I'm
doing?
here. I'm good.
Let's get it out of the way. The most important question: who makes the best muffaletta sandwiches in New Orleans?
Central Grocery.
Central Grocery. Hot tip for tourists there. Forget the tourist traps. Go to Central Grocery. Awesome. Didn't you say their roof caved in though
That's what I
during
heard.
the hurricane?
Rumor has you
Rumor
won't
has
be
it.
pull out anytime soon. No, I
Okay. Well, what's going on with you, Steve? I
don't. Oh, I've been writing a lot and not much performing, obviously, but I've been doing the Zoom sessions and I've been have a few lessons that I do as well online.
Oh,
So I've been
great. So you
staying.
do the same thing. You do lessons online. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because, I mean, everybody's got to pivot during the
Need
pandemic.
help
And
with anything? Like
I do. That's why I'm here. I need help with my Zero Shuffle, as you know. I have to relearn a lot of things. Uh, I don't know if I told you I had an injury to my hands a couple months
ah,
ago. I took a hedge trimmer across two fingers, and I lost a
oh
lot of
no.
nerve damage there. Yeah. So anyway, need to learn that slop shuffle. But so you're doing lessons online, but I also know because you came and did one of our sessions, and if anybody watching this, it's Light School, which is our little group, goes to, I think it was June 1st. We talked about the zero, and I go, well, we can't talk about the zero shuffle without inviting Steve. And Steve basically gave us a master class, not just in the zero, but in all kinds of, but mostly in the zero. But it was fantastic. And then we talked a little bit, and I didn't realize how much you were putting out. In fact, don't you have a magazine called, is it called Output?
It's output, yeah. It's a booklet,
It's a booklet every month. That's a lot of work.
potentially every month, yeah. But it's just like every other Magic magazine. It's always late. No,
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, who's,
that's how
all
it
the
rolls.
ones that come on time are crap.
I've been putting out tons of stuff lately. Yeah,
I know that. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Because I know the people who come, that I talk to and come to this site have similar interests as the people who go to your site. So I wanted to make sure people knew about you and what you're doing over there, and your books and stuff. I was
yeah.
reading some of the news items on your blog, and one of them was the Skinner tapes. You were driving around listening to the Skinner tapes on your car,
When they
right?
came out, yeah, that's all I listened to.
Yours, what's that?
That's all I listened to when
That's
they
all you
came.
listen to is Mike Skinner talk. But you
And
said,
because I was working restaurants at the time, so I got into Skinner mode, and I was like doing like egg bag and everything. I was trying everything.
we're doing the knots.
I seemed to learn everything. I was like, man, and one of the main things was like, I have so many books here with gold in them, but for some reason or another, I never do them, and so that his influence got me back into the books, going through things that I may have glossed over before.
Well, you talk about making lists, and I remember he was big on that.
Yeah,
He used to carry little cards around in his wallet and he would move the ones that he wanted to keep in his rotation to the front, and he'd take his wallet
yeah.
out, and he'd take the cards out, and kind of, oh yeah, all backs along the water, whatever. I got to work on that and
That's how you
perform
remember.
that more.
That's how I remember. He just kept looking at his hand.
Yeah, exactly. He's palming. Carney does the same thing. Carney has these with micro writing, all these routines. You want to shift things to the front. Otherwise, you just do the same 5 tricks all the time, right?
Yeah.
I always
And
thought
the
that was a
clustering of effects that helps, to remember them. I think you got that from Charlie Miller, where one
put
would
them in
lead,
groups of three, kind of.
and that really helped in the routining them together.
We talked. I mean, during our Zero Shuffle class, we talked a little bit about your background and your fascination with Marlowe and Brother John, who you never met, but you found his work and took a deep dive into some of his things.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I was 15 when I got, well, I was 14 when I got Counts, Cuts, Moves, and Subtlety. And no tricks, of course. The only trick in there was basically, you do an Elmsley to hide the card, and then you do a Jordan to hide the card, and that was the only trick, Spread them, and there it is. But then the next year, I got Genie magazine and found Cornucopia. That was my first, modern. But I had all the Dover books when I was a kid, but in Cornucopia.
Really,
And I read
Cornucopia was your first. Oh, that's interesting.
my first heavy, and I read the intro, his theory part at the beginning, and I went, "Oh my God, these guys are freaking serious."
Yeah.
I'm in. I love this.
I'm trying to imagine that if more magicians found that his essays early on,
yeah,
they might have a different approach. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, the first line was, and it's a cliche now, and it was a cliche when he wrote it. Before you receive more, you must first empty your cup. And that was like, and so that gave me that sort of approach of forgetting what I know and just learning what's there.
And it's a scholarly pursuit, and you're a perpetual student, and these are the things that Carney kind of instilled in me, and I saw him by example.
Yeah, and but at the same time, I saw the Brother John Hammond from Joe Stevens, the video cassette, VHS,
which I've never seen that.
Oh man, so good, and that whole series is still one of the best videos because it was all it was real performers, even though Hammond wasn't, but you know what I mean, like really heavy stuff. And so I got that, and that was my first look. I never saw card magic before then. Literally, I never saw it. I didn't know any. No.
So the Hammond tape was the first kind of hardcore card tricks.
And Tony Hassini, when I was a kid, there was a couple of videos.
Okay.
Back in the day, but nothing hardcore. But the Hammond was my first look at what, and that's what my problem is.
Yeah, that explains
kind of this kind of very bold kind of approaches that I enjoy.
Well, you talk about that. You talk about subtlety over moves. The power of subtlety and.
Obama always told me, subtleties trump sleights.
That's what. That's a good T-shirt.
Yeah.
To wear to your next magic convention. I wonder, that would perplex a layman if you walk outside with subtlety trumps sleights. How would they take that? That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that was and what was nice was I had already learned a year. I was just counting cards, watching Night Court, that was my favorite show, watching Harry Anderson. And I was just doing all the counts, cuts, the subtlety, the all-round subtlety. I
learned the foundations honed.
Count, and I was happy, quite frankly, just learning that stuff. But I knew in my mind that this was something very special. There was something else. There was a next step. I didn't know what it was or when it would happen. I was Vernon always said, you got to love practicing. Well, that was already in me. I already enjoyed it. I could just sit there forever. Right. But luckily, I got the Hammond tape and I started learning some magic.
You actually learned some practical applications of these moves.
And I got. I learned, and I was able to reconstruct some of the ones he didn't explain, like the underground transpo, because I had already learned the Visa count from the book and the Elmsley. So it was just a matter of me sort of figuring it out, and I was able to do it before I got the book. I didn't get the book till I was 18. So that was a major thing, and I learned everything in there, not the gimmick stuff, but because when I performed, back then I performed for my friends at parties and stuff.
Sure.
And we were playing games. I won't tell you what kind of drinking games.
I don't want to know.
And eventually, you never heard of those? And eventually they'd say, here's the deck we've been using. Let's
do something.
That deck, whatever. So I never think in gimmicks, even now.
I'm the same way as you, and I mean, it was for a different reason. My reason was my brothers were really, really mean to me. So if I
Mm.
ever go here, let me show you something. They grab the deck. Wait a minute, you know. And as soon as the trick's over, they grab it again. Hold on. Let me see your sleeves. Let me see your pockets. You know.
Yeah,
It's
my
like,
friends would like frisk me before.
yeah, frisk me. I mean, they could tell. You know, as a family member, they could tell the way I walk into the room, the attitude of my chin. What I could tell. You're holding yourself. It's weird. You know, it's like how your spouse or something can tell from across the mall that you're like, oh, he wants to buy something. You know, they can just tell body language. It's all so subtle. But my brothers, it was like, and then I started working restaurants and bars and stuff, and people grab things, and I said,
Yeah.
you know, there's no way a double facer would survive, or double backer,
No.
or any kind of split card, or anything like that.
Yeah. But I was able to do a lot of those things from the get go. But then when I got to Two Shuffles Harry, and I had to learn the Zero Shuffle, which I didn't even know Zero was a person, you know. And I didn't know there was the Zero Shuffle that you need to learn.
Right.
It was just like step 3 in the trick. You know?
Yeah.
And that was sort of, and I did it like Hammond, like kind of blocky, square up. And so that's got me started on that. And then the following year, I got Card Finesse 2. It was 92. And that like opened my eyes to Marlowe and this whole other way of looking at this stuff.
Yeah.
And I started getting into moves and finessing what I knew and coming up with ideas and things.
Were you
And then
meeting people at that point? Were you?
my actually, well, there was a kiosk magic shop before I went to my first convention in '98 was the SAM convention. There was a kiosk there, and but before that,
Where
this
was
is
the
like
SAM convention in '98?
New Orleans.
I was there.
You were?
Pretty
I waved
sure.
at you. You didn't say hi. What the?
I said hi.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you ignored me.
So what happened was I got Card Finesse 2, and I mean, it just sucked me into the vortex of card magic, and um, but I started because I had Genie magazine. I would like look up magic shops and call them up and ask them questions about Marlowe.
You would? What would they say? I don't know.
I don't
Marlo
know.
who? Yeah.
I asked about a Rocker Bomber book, and they go, "Hey," and the guy goes, "Hey, Marge, do we have that Rockenbacher book?"
Rockenbacher. It's over there by the rubber penises, you know.
Well, it was MO, modus operandi. I was looking for it. He goes, "Do we have that Mocus Operocus by Rockenbacher?" This is not the right guy.
Did you ever tell John that?
I would call the magic, like I knew nobody. I didn't know how to do. So I called the Magic Castle bar.
What?
And they'd like hand the phone to some magician and
Yeah.
they'd mess with me.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
asking for a book, and the guy goes, "Oh, I think that's like a trick deck." Just But anyway, so then I started. So then I called Kaufman, Richard Kaufman, and because big ads, and he wrote the Hammond book and
Right.
everything. And then this was when I was about 15, 16. And he eventually said, "Why don't you?" Because I kept asking about his 2 favorite people at the time, Rocker Bomber and Marlowe. And he's like, he goes, "Why don't you call John? He likes to talk." He says.
Yeah.
So
So he
like,
gave you.
I don't have his number, and he gave me his number. I called John up. John's great because, if you show him you have passion, and no matter who you are,
It
he'll
doesn't
take
matter.
you.
Yeah.
So he took a liking to me and brought me into the fold. But this was only over the phone because I'm from Philadelphia. I'm not from New Orleans. I moved to New Orleans in 2007. So it was like 6 years on the phone with John before I even met him.
Is that
And so
right?
he didn't teach me like you say he's my mentor. He didn't say put your finger here. It was more like an attitude, and taught me what books to read, and would say things like, the real work is like the North Star. We may not be able to obtain it, but we can use it as a guide. That kind of.
Yeah, he
which
was.
is another, by the
That's
way.
another T-shirt. Uh, so he
Oh,
became
that,
kind of your guru, your guide, your mentor.
and
Yeah.
then when I was 21, it was my first flight out. I never took an airplane trip before. Went to New Orleans for the SAM convention, but my real reason was to meet John and hang out with him and meet him and everything.
Wow.
And so that became a friendship over many years.
Yeah.
And eventually I decided to do one of those things that some card guys do is move to where your guy is, you know.
Famously, several greats have done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to
So
go where the action is. Go where the man
where
is. Yeah.
and so and obviously from Card Finesse 2 led into Marlowe and kept going.
Yeah. And then you went down the Marlowe rabbit hole. Then you haven't come out.
Yeah, I'm about this far down.
We got to get a roto rooter in there and get you out.
Yeah.
No, I remember I was kind of, I met Carney early on when I was 15. He came through and lectured. And then he kind of introduced me to Charlie Miller and Vernon and that kind of thinking in that way. And it wasn't until I met Gary Plants a few years later that he was really turning me on to the Marlowe stuff,
Mhm.
But Gary was kind of the guy going, this is bad, this is good. I had Gary there to kind of
Right.
show me the way for
And
many years.
that sounds easy. This is bad. This is
Yeah, it
good.
was easy for me. It's like, no, no, don't eat that. That's not good for you. Here, read this. Don't read that. Um, I was reading some of your blog posts, and tell me about your all backs routine. Is that something you're willing to talk about? I find that an interesting uh, premise. I've never done it. Carney does a beautiful one. I've seen a lot of guys who interesting all back routines, but it never hooked me for some reason.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I was the same way, and I was actually working on a different trick, just sort of playing around, where I had to cut to a bridge, aces, to produce them, and I kept getting it back. I'm like, because the bridge was off, and I'm in New Orleans, so humidity had screwed my back.
You're always cutting to the wrong card in New Orleans. I
And I'm
noticed
cutting
that.
to it back, and I go, and I think to myself, I hate all backs.
Yeah, it's like
This just reminded me about how much I hate all backs. But then I'm like, well, how many times do I have to, So I started to ask myself, what would I do? Because my whole years ago when I worked the restaurants, I always wanted to hand a layman if they said, "Oh, can I show you a trick?" I always wanted to hand them an all back stick, and as they
wouldn't
start
that be
doing the
great?
trick, I would want to watch them. You know how like
This,
Vernon watched people like put the coat on and see how
yeah,
they
yeah.
did. Same thing. I
This,
just wanted to see how they reacted, and then that would be the routine, or that would
right.
be sort of a catalyst to how. Because I just
Yeah,
thought there
because
was
the
so
layman
many.
would Hindu shuffle like this, right? And,
Yes. Well, they go. They do. Well, I'll show you the thing.
okay, great. I see.
Yeah, let's
I'm
see it.
trying to prompt you here to do stuff.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta let me give you the floor here, and let me move your name. Get rid of your name. We all know who
Oh,
you
yeah.
are now.
This is actually
So
good. Perfect. Oh, shit. Now it's not going to work.
yeah,
I was going to do the best Zero shuffle you've never seen. Um, so the idea was it's more of the sort of a pantomime of discovering this funky deck. There's a
right.
little anomaly going on. So I would cut. Of course, now I can't cut to the.
Yeah,
I'd look here. I'd look down. It's all intrinsic actions. Look here. Okay, we got a back, 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 backs. And so they're just watching you. Well, now what's that? And
that's
then finally,
interesting.
you say, finally, sorry about that. You say, finally, that's it. And then you do this, and that there's change. And then these.
Very nice. Very
So
simple.
that's kind of fumbling along there, but
No, no, I like that.
yeah, it's simple and it's direct and it's humorous. There's humorous moments,
Yeah.
and it's simple. It's just like I'm looking here. I don't have to show everything. How many backs would you have to see to know
Right.
that there's something wrong?
And
Not,
you're not presenting it to them. You're exploring it
yeah.
yourself. Yeah, you're not
Well,
proving anything to them.
it's the way I frame it is like I'm about to cut to a think of a card, and then I cut. Oh, wait a
Right.
minute. What's the what's this? What's this? So if the action is, and these cards aren't working out very well here. You do that. You just pull this back. You look here, like here too.
Yeah.
Now you spread these. You turn this another back.
I
Now
love
you look.
this. Yeah.
This is based on a Marlowe thing from early Marlowe. Back, 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 back. And now you turn this over, which gives the impression that you spread both sides.
Right. Exactly.
Now I've got a reverse card in there, so I'm like, what am I going to do with that? I don't want to do any moves because, subtleties trump sleights.
Exactly.
And then I did
Isn't
this.
that cool?
Now, what is this? All right, that's it. And I always thought it was funny because, like, I do this, like, that's it. It's over, And that's the
Right.
same action for Marlowe's, Marlowe's
Yeah.
rise,
Table
rise,
book.
rise, or whatever, and do that, snap, and then show those. So
Very
it's
nice.
really a quickie.
I'm glad you showed that. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong side. Wait a minute. Now there we go.
I'm hosting now.
You're the host. Ask me some questions. Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm going to get rid
I
of your
wish
name again so we can see your
I
hands.
came up with this during this whole time, and I
What's
only
that?
showed it. I came up with this during this whole
COVID?
Yeah, and back in the day, I'd come up with something and go into the restaurant and do it, and I can get I have enough experience to know what the timing would be like and how it would fly. But
See, that's the point. When you've done it enough, because you're not starting from scratch when you work on a routine, because you take all your experience with real people, all the real world experience. You go, this won't fly. This won't. You read a trick in a book and you go, nope, 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 no. Okay, I can adapt this. I know. I'm going to just, instead of having doing a table show, I'm going to just have the cards in my pocket and palm them in while they're grabbing the salt or something. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Have much more practical things.
and
Are there
actually,
any knuckle buster tricks that you would make yourself do at a restaurant just to find the easy path? You know what I mean? To hone it. Would you there's tricks out there that are for magicians only, really. I mean, I put them in that category. But do you ever take some of those and go, God damn it, I'm going to try this for real people and find out where the beats really are?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't think of any. I mean, I just did all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, you just do it, everything, huh?
But it was funny because I studied Bill Malone a lot as well. He was, when I was younger, when he was on the America, I was going to say America's Got Talent. That'd be crazy if he was on America's Got Talent. The world's greatest magicians or world's greatest. And he did Sam the Bellhop, and I watched him. My grandmother had a VHS player, and she recorded it. And if you pushed pause and forward, you go frame by frame.
You see you write each card down.
Yeah, I wrote each card down. No, that's where I learned all of my false cuts that I was doing back then.
Is that right?
Yeah. And so years later, I continued to study his stuff in the videos, and eventually got to meet him at some of the conventions and stuff, and other places. But and now when I work on a routine, it's like, even if it's like a move, like I'll figure out where a laugh is in a move. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I'm just thinking like, how is this moment gonna be, funny or whatever? So that's another thing that goes into when I come up with a routine now is, where's the humor?
Yeah.
I'm not a very good writer of presentations, like what I'm going to say. It's usually very off the cuff for the most part, but I know where the moments are,
right,
where my humor can be insert, where that
I
is.
found that sometimes it takes
structuralist, I guess.
You're a what?
I don't know. I don't want to say that again. I'm a I'm, I like I like structuring
Oh yeah,
routines and
yeah.
how
You're an engineer. You
so
like putting these things
I'm an
together.
engineer.
Yeah,
That's what
problem
I like.
solver.
Yes. Of
Um,
course, I asked Bill one time for a card problem. He said, "Steve, you have enough problems. You
good
don't need
answer.
any."
You did kind of, yeah. Uh, but you start doing a trick for people, and you thought the trick was about this, but then they teach you pretty quick it wasn't about
Yeah.
that. It's about this.
Yeah.
You go, oh, that's the part you're responding to. That's weird. I thought I was trying to emphasize this moment, but you seem to be drawn to
Yes.
this moment
And,
because you're a
and
layman.
that's what happened when doing Hammond stuff. If they were reacting,
Oh,
and I didn't think of it in the sense of like, how am I going to present this differently? It's like, oh, if they assume this,
right.
then that means when I work on this method, I don't need to do this move. I can just do this, and
That's
they'll
right.
just assume that part.
Shortcut.
And
Yeah.
what that does, the goal isn't to simplify, though that's good. You want to simplify things, but not to make things easy, but to clarify.
Clarify. That's the word. Thank you. I mean, somebody asked me, they go, what do you, like you're giving these lessons and, having these sessions with people and stuff. What is it what's the most common piece of advice you give? What do you find yourself working on the most? And I go, I don't know. It's all over the map, but I guess in the broader sense, it's let's bring more clarity to the effect and to the story, to the presentation. Just clarity. Because
Right.
some of these things can be very muddled and people don't understand. You're not linking thoughts together and it's just a mishmash.
Right. Yep.
That's tough with card tricks. Clarity, right?
Yeah.
And Brother John Hammond, a lot of his things were kind of so vague. You never knew. It was always like going around a circle. You never know what's around the corner. That's how they take cows to slaughter now, that thing. You can't see what's ahead of you, the impending doom, so you just keep follow along. And that's what when I think of Brother John, because other people, it's like, I see him about to be destroyed. It's a straight line. I see, but yeah.
Well, he had a trick called the knavish deuces.
Okay, what's that?
It's like a follow the leader type. It's very involved. But so it uses a bunch of deuces, 4 deuces. You keep repeating, showing these red. You have 4 red deuces and 4 black deuces, and it's like an oil and water type thing in 2 separate packets. But then in the middle, all of a sudden you got jacks, and you never mentioned them, and all of a sudden they're deuces again. It's just like out of the blue. It's just like jacks.
Brother John was getting into the Sacramento wine when the other brothers weren't looking sometimes, I think.
So I guess he came up with knavish deuces because of those jacks just came into them. But anyway, so I always enjoyed Hammond stuff. That's my main. It's always my main go-to material.
And a lot of people don't know much about him, even though they might have the book. You'll go through and pick out a few things, but yeah. So I'm sure you fool a lot of guys with Hammond stuff, or surprise them at least.
Yeah, they're
because people aren't well versed.
No.
I was just reading the Billy the Kid routine
right.
that you turned me on to. I called you for a reference the other day. We were working on something, and I really like that, actually. I like the Pat Garrett, the Billy the Kid presentation, and the 12 bullets. All of a sudden, it's got a little hook, right? 12 cards, because, I made a little post about this, but what I was doing with it was, here, let me see if I can show you, which was, so let's say you have 12 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He does that bottom deal. He has them think of a card and remember its position, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say they thought of the 6th card. Remember its position also. And then he has kind of like, he says, I'm going to, I can't do it because my fingers are numb, but he says, I'm going to deal cards down, and he displaces the top card, puts the bottom card on top. So now they slam their hand on the wrong card. But now tell me, is this a Marlowe idea? I thought this was a Marlowe idea because the way I do it is you just spread the cards and have them do it, and all you're doing is pulling the top card back.
Hmm.
So you're only showing 11, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to count all the way down to the 12th card. So you say, think of one and remember its position, and then you're kind of hiding that card.
Yeah, Marla, actually, this is how I
I
am.
remember that as a card to pocket. I remember it was some sort of,
Yeah.
they think of a card, they remember the number, and then they deal the number down, and then the card isn't there. And then then you can just palm this off. And because I think
Yeah.
after they think of a card, you fan them out, and you apparently take one card out of the fan and put it in your pocket.
Right. Yeah, that's
Is
in
that
some of the early booklets.
right?
But yeah, that hideout move, and I don't know if this is the one you're referring to.
What's going on here with my?
But he would. This is based on another move that it was in some magazine back in the day, and he would push this forward
Oh,
that way. That was in the Spade book. I don't think it was his move. It might have been like a finesse on it or something.
okay. So you're actually putting your index finger in between your
And then
buckle.
push forward, and this would clip there.
Oh, okay. So it would be if they're looking down at your hands or something. I mean, this isn't the optimum, but it would look something like that, and then you have a card hidden behind. Okay.
Yeah, and then there was hideout moves underneath. But yeah. I'm not certain for. Well, they go.
Okay, great. Oh, I gotta let me give you the